Game week 16 is here. We have 5 free transfers. I've already used 3 and I'm thinking about using another. So let's see how my team is looking like for FPL game week 16. But before we get started, make sure you guys leave a like on this video because that'd be greatly appreciated. I think the best place to start is probably game week 15. As you guys know, I played my free hit. I obviously made a transfer plan video on Sunday after the Sunday games, but I think it's only fair for me to talk about the 2 players that were left to play in game week 15 on that Monday, which were Bruno Fernandes and Matheus Cunha, and they went very, very well. Bruno Fernandes obviously getting the 18-pointer. I think he was probably due that big haul, and he finally got it this week. Matheus Cunha 5-pointer. I feel like that was the fun pick that I took on a free hit. And if anyone watched the United Wolves game, he probably should have had more. I think he had expected goal involvement of over 1.2 that game. He had a shot cleared off the line. He had 8 shots in that game. Just getting 5 points is very, very unfortunate. But listen, it was a fun pick I took on a free hit. The free hit went relatively well. I think I was 30 to 35 points better off compared to my normal team. So I'm extremely happy with that. But anyway, game week 15 is done. Let's have a look at game week 16. And as you guys know, I had made 3 transfers already. I'm potentially thinking about one more, but that's something I'm going to discuss throughout this video. But anyway, let's start with the defense. I've got the Dubravka against Fulham at home. And listen, I have made a goalkeeper transfer. As you guys know, I had Nick Pope before. I took Nick Pope out and I bought Verbruggen in. Now I've got the cheapest goalkeeper starting combination in FPL with Dubravka and Verbruggen. Listen, Verbruggen doesn't have the best fixture this week, Liverpool away. He has obviously Arsenal in game week 18, I believe, but the fixtures around that are very, very nice. I'm very happy owning Verbruggen. Brighton have kept a couple clean sheets in recent weeks. They're a decent defense, so no complaints. But anyway, Dubravka against Fulham. Listen, could Burnley keep a clean sheet? Yes. It's going to be a very, very difficult game for them, though. Fulham, the last game before the players obviously go to AFCON, the likes of Iwobi, Chukwueze, Calvin Bassey. So listen, one big bang from Fulham, potentially. But listen, Burnley's chances of keeping a clean sheet are higher than Brighton's chances. So obviously I'm going to start Dubravka. The defense is where it gets very, very interesting this week. I've got Timber, who's currently obviously a doubt for the Wolves game, which is something that obviously is very, very frustrating because he would want an Arsenal defender against Wolves. He did travel with the Champions League squad for Arsenal against Club Brugge, but obviously he didn't play. How serious is this injury? Or is it just a knock? Because Arteta did come out in the press conference and said it will be a couple of days. Does a couple of days mean he'll be fully fit for Wolves? I don't know. The problem is Arteta is so hard to read in press conferences. But for now, I'm going to go with Timber. And another reason why, listen, none of my transfer plans involve selling Timber is there's so much value tied up in it. I think he's around 6.5 million right now. If you guys know, I was one of the early people to bring in Euro Timber when he was 5.7. So the amount of value I've tied up in him, I can't sell him. I just cannot sell him. So Timber's going to stay no matter what. Even if he doesn't play, I'll expect someone else to come off my bench. I've got Van Dijk against Brighton. Liverpool defensively have looked slightly better in recent weeks. I think their performance against Inter Milan without Mo Salah now, compacting the midfield with the 3 with Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, could be a very, and Curtis Jones as well, could be beneficial for Liverpool's clean sheet chances, let's say. Of course, they lose a lot on the ball with Mo Salah's capabilities, but from a defensive point of view, they might be slightly stronger. We know Van Dijk always has good DEFCON potential. And I said this with Van Dijk, he's due a goal. Like his heading capabilities this season, I don't know how he hasn't scored. Even the header I think he had against Leeds, very, very unfortunate not to have got more points from a goal scoring point of view so far this year. I think that could come, and hopefully it'll be this week against Brighton. And then Joachim Andersen against Burnley. Listen, you're going to play your defender against Burnley. It's always going to happen. Joachim Andersen, good DEFCON potential. He's going to be in. I'm happy with that. Let's have a look at the midfield. So the midfield for my team is where it gets slightly interesting. Let's go from right to left. Bukayo Saka against Wolves, a brilliant fixture. We obviously know he got arrested against Club Brugge. He's going to be in. Someone I'm extremely happy about. Semenyo. Now, I know a lot of people have got rid of Semenyo, which I fully understand. But for me, I'm not, like, none of the moves that I've thought of or made have involved selling Semenyo. Just because game week 17, Semenyo has Burnley. I want Semenyo for that fixture. After that, there's obviously a good possibility of me selling him. Even game week 18, to be honest, he has Brentford. I do think Semenyo has been very unfortunate in recent weeks not to get more attacking returns. We know obviously he scored against Chelsea last week. He was ruled out for offside. Even before that, he probably could have had a lot more returns. Very, very unfortunate. Probably due to Ivan Nilsson up top, who has been getting in silly positions, whether it's offside or whatever. It is frustrating, but I think Manchester United away is not a bad fixture. United defensively, I still do not trust. So I'm going to keep Semenyo for now, but you never know in the future. I've also got Bryan Mbeumo. Listen, he is the Manchester United midfielder that I have right now. Would I rather have Bruno Fernandes? Yes. But when I was looking at my moves, do I want to move, let's say, a Manchester United midfielder and Bryan Mbeumo to Bruno Fernandes just yet? No. Manchester United in Game Week 17 have Aston Villa. Game Week 18 have Newcastle. Those are two games where if I have Bruno Fernandes, I have no problem playing him. But do I necessarily want to buy Bruno Fernandes before those next two games? The answer to that question is no. So I'm going to keep Bryan Mbeumo for now. But in Game Week 19, when United go on a decent run, he's a very, very good option. But for now, Bryan Mbeumo will be staying in my team. But listen, if people are bringing in Bruno this week, I have no problem. Because listen, he's the highest scoring midfielder in FPL right now. How can you complain? And as you guys can see, I have finally bought in Phil Foden this week. So my 3 moves this week were, so far, Pope to Verbruggen, Potts from West Ham to Foden, and then Mateta down to Gui. So changing my team structure from the 3-4-3 to the 3-5-2, dead ending my third forward spot. I've gone to Phil Foden. Now, again, this is someone that, as I spoke about in the transfer plan video, I wanted to think about a bit more. Because I don't think Crystal Palace is the most ideal of games for Phil Foden, for Manchester City. Crystal Palace are a very, very good footballing outfit. But at the same time, Phil Foden was just rising too much a price. Like, I could not see Phil Foden get another rise. Mateta potentially dropping. It was just getting a bit silly with how much Phil Foden has obviously risen in recent weeks. Crystal Palace, now, they did play in Europe, which helps, let's say, Phil Foden, Erling Haaland, for example, in that we've seen Crystal Palace, after they played in Europe, have not won a game so far. So Phil Foden still has the potential to go big against Crystal Palace, which he has been doing in recent weeks. So I'm still relatively happy owning him, relatively happy playing him, which is why I made that transfer. And listen, Phil Foden is part of my long-term plan anyway. Game Week 17, they have West Ham. You want Phil Foden. You want the likes of Erling Haaland for that fixture. Then I got with Minte against Liverpool away. I think a couple of weeks ago, this fixture would have looked a lot better in terms of how open Liverpool were defensively after the Inter Milan game. Now, this is a different story with Minte. Could he perform against Liverpool? Yes. With the likes of Kirkins, Robertson starting at left back, Minte will get chances to attack them and potentially getting attacking returns. So it's not a horrible. And obviously, like I said, with Verbruggen, the fixtures outside the Liverpool and Arsenal game in Game Week 18 are very, very good. They got a couple of the newly promoted sides, so I don't mind keeping Minte for now. Ideally, I have got 0.3 in the bank. I'm 0.2 short of going Minte to Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai is the one midfielder that I really, really want to own for this week. But another problem I have with Dominic Szoboszlai is he has 4 yellow cards. If he gets a yellow card this week, it will be great, because then he misses the Tottenham game in Game Week 17. Game Week 18, Liverpool have Wolves. I really, really want Szoboszlai for that. So that is just something that I'm thinking of for now. But obviously, I can't afford going straight Minte to Szoboszlai. Otherwise, I probably would have made it. Anyway, let's have a look at the attack now. Now, the attack is pretty simple. I've got Erling Haaland. He's not going to be my captain. I've captained Bukayo Saka this week against Wolves. Wolves are bad. Would I rather have, let's say, 75 minutes of Bukayo Saka against Wolves versus 90 minutes of Erling Haaland against Crystal Palace? Probably the answer to that question is yes. So I'm going to back Bukayo Saka this week against Wolves. I've also got Thiago against Leeds. Listen, that's pretty simple. You're going to play the Brentford man. 11 Premier League goals so far this season. Potential differential captain option this week. I know Ty's gone with Thiago this week, so good luck to him. Obviously, Thiago, he still has Dango Tara this week. Obviously, Shard is suspended, but Dango Tara is the interesting one from a Thiago point of view, because Dango Tara has won 4 penalties so far in the Premier League. That's the most out of any single player. And we know Brentford love taking penalties. Thiago loves taking penalties, and it helps Thiago's FPL potential. So that is how my team is looking like. But as I said, there is one more move I'm potentially wondering if I should make. As you guys can see, I've got 0.3 million in the bank. I've got Lucrao on the bench currently. I could go Lucrao to Hincapié from Arsenal. We know Gabriel's probably back early 2026, potentially last game of 2025, according to reports. So we know Hincapié is going to play left centre back, the only left-footed player they have in that area right now. with obviously Califro suspended for this week as well. So he could be a brilliant option for my team. That would probably mean I do bench Minte and bring in Hincapié, play a 4-4-2. If we're looking at future transfers, by the way, I think this is a brilliant graphic in terms of clean sheet potential. Arsenal have a 58% chance, according to Rob T, for keeping a clean sheet this week. So having Hincapié this week will obviously be great. From game week 16 to game week 19, every single game, Arsenal have over a 40% chance of keeping a clean sheet. So doubling up with Timber and Hincapié, I have no problem with. The problem is Crystal Palace. I would be taking out Lecrao. Lecrao has Leeds in game week 17. Game week 17 to game week 19, that same time span, Crystal Palace still have a decent chance of keeping a clean sheet. Of course, it's lower than Arsenal's, but they still have above 30% chance in every single game of keeping a clean sheet. So I would be losing that Crystal Palace, let's say, coverage. But at the same time, Munoz is now out for Crystal Palace. They lose quite a lot without him on the side, with obviously Klein playing two different sort of players, two different sort of profiles, and obviously Munoz has a brilliant engine to get up and down. So could I take on that Crystal Palace defense right now? Potentially, which is why I'm really considering the Hincapié move. But as I said, I do have to be careful. Like I said in my previous, when I was talking about the team, Bruno Fernandes is someone that I do want in future weeks. Like I said, game week 19, Manchester United go on that good fixture run. I'd want Bruno Fernandes for that. Also, as I said, I do want Szoboszlai for game week 18 when they have Wolves. As you guys can see, the projected goals. That week, Liverpool projected 2.7 goals. We know he potentially is on penalties, but obviously we haven't seen who's on penalties when Szoboszlai and Isak on the pitch. But that is just something I have to take into consideration. Of course, another possibility in future weeks could be downgrading Minte to Dewsbury Hall. We know Everton after game week 18 go on a relatively good fixture run, especially after game week 20. So that is something that I am thinking about. But as I said, that's how my team is looking at for now. Let me know, guys, if you would bring in Hincapié for Lecrao and go to a 4-4-2 this week. Because I think I'm going to do it. But that will leave me with one free transfer in the bank. That means I would have 2 next week. And obviously, Mbeumo will have to go next week. So let me know what you guys will do. I'm relatively happy with how my team is looking like. But that probably means I'm going to get a red arrow. But hopefully not. Anyway, like the video, guys. Comment your thoughts on my team. Comment your thoughts if you would make that Lecrao to Hincapié move. And subscribe to the channel.